Look, if you want to call them my Clippers, I'm proud of them, Jenna. This was a great playoff run. All right, without their best player, to beat Utah, to push the Phoenix Suns, second best record in the West in this series. Great job. They have nothing to hang their heads about other than Patrick Beverley with that shove. But outside of that, they did a great job. I have not talked to Kawhi. I've not talked to Uncle Dennis. Dennis is around here in New Jersey. I see him a lot here, but I haven't talked to him about this. But I would be shocked. I don't know why everybody's talking about Kawhi Leonard leaving. Why? I mean, why?
Right.
Does he just have wanderlust to the nth degree? I mean, what in the world? Like, you're at home in Southern California where you want it to be. You've got your own team. Your team is a championship contender. Next year, they're going to be one of the heavy favorites to get to the finals. You've got an owner who will spend money, whatever it takes to build up the franchise and try to win the championship. You've got a great coach who you respect and get along with. I know the reports about, does he have any issues with the medical staff? I don't know if he does or not. But even if he does, that can be settled with one conversation with Steve Ballmer. He's not trying to let Kawhi Leonard walk.
Right.
So Kawhi Leonard, I don't think there's no way he's going anywhere. So we should stop that. So I don't know for a fact, but I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to me that he would leave. And then the big question is Reggie Jackson, and. Reggie, you saw the emotional press conference last night. Obviously, the Clippers are in his heart, but the Clippers, because of the cap situation, can only offer him a contract starting at $10 million a year next year. And so he obviously played his way into a better contract than that. And when you heard him speak, even though he clearly would love to be back with the Clippers, he didn't say that. He said, I don't know what the future holds, but I'll always be a Clipper in my heart or something to that effect. So he understands, and I don't blame him. If he can secure the bag, then go secure the bag, Reggie Jackson. I don't blame him at all. So it'll be difficult for them to keep him. Then you got Boogie Cousins, Nick Batum. I imagine they can bring back Boogie and probably would. He played well for him in the playoffs. Batum's fairly important. You lose it, but there still can be a championship contender without Batum.
So, listen, I also think Kawhi is going to be back. I think you glossed a little bit over that he has a beef with the medical staff. Well, the beef with the medical staff is what ended his run in San Antonio, right? That's why he ended up demanding to be traded, was because he thought they mishandled his injuries. And so I am not as 100% or 99% confident as Broussard is, but let's just assume for the sake of the argument, Kawhi's back. Because if he's not back, obviously the Clippers are not championship contenders. They still have real issues. They've got $23 million locked into Beverley and Rondo. Y'all see Rondo in this series? I didn't, because he wasn't playing. Not there last night. DNP. Playoff Rondo was DNP playoff Rondo for the most critical moments. They traded for that contract. That's $9 million next year. Beverley is $14 million next year. If you think Patrick Beverley's a $14 million a year player, I got a 72 Chevelle I want to sell you for $185,000. It's insane. Also, that Luke Kennard contract kicking in. Serge Ibaka, I don't think he's going to opt out of his deal after what happened with him this year injury-wise, so he's going to be back. And Ivica Zubac is going to be back on a hefty salary, I think $13 million a year. So all those things make it tricky, and you mentioned it. Who was their third best player of these playoffs? Reggie Jackson. He was making the league minimum. I would be shocked if he's back. Who was probably one of their 6 most important players? Batum. He was making the league minimum. And they have no draft assets after this year's draft to trade. So, Brandon, I think the Clippers, what they have going for him is Kawhi is one of the 7 best players in basketball. Paul George probably is going to feel better going into next year than he did going into this year. And they might have the best coach in the whole league. But there's some uncertainty with the rest of the roster, and they don't have a lot of flexibility to upgrade it like other teams would.
No, I mean, you're 100% correct, and we talked about this all year. They definitely have challenges when it comes to their cap situation and also the stock that they don't have in the draft. But every team, Nick, has their challenges when it comes to the roster and managing the cap. And that's what usually separates good organizations from great organizations. Like, who do you have in that spot? Because you have to be creative. You have to be collaborate with the owner, with the players, the agent. So, like, every team has their situation. I'm telling you right now, next year they're still a contender. With everything you said, they're still going to be a contender. They'll make one or two tweaks and they'll be fine. But here's the deal, right? Because the question is, what does the future hold for the Clippers? And now we're talking about players. That's what we're talking about. Kawhi Leonard. You're talking about Reggie Jackson. You're talking about Paul George. Let's start with Kawhi Leonard. Two-time NBA champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP, five-time NBA All-Star Game MVP, three-time All-NBA first team, two-time All-NBA second team. And it goes on and on and on. Everything this man has accomplished, all of his accolades, there's nothing left for him to do. He is not LeBron James. He is not chasing MJ. He is home. You are where you need to be. Chris Broussard is right. He said it. Look, that's one conversation with Ballmer. Go to Ballmer and you say, look, can we figure this out? Whether we need to fire somebody on this medical staff, if we're talking about negligence, or let's just have a conversation to make it better. I don't think they always have to go to firing somebody, but just talk, communicate. Everything that happened in San Antonio, he was young. And then that relationship with Pop, we don't know the ins and outs with that. The real question for me is Paul George. Who is he? He broke through this playoffs, 100%. He just can't go back. Ty Lue has to keep his foot on the pedal when it comes to Paul George. Paul George, stay aggressive. When Kawhi comes back and he's healthy, please don't fade back. We need 25 a night. We need you thinking like that. We need you to strap it down on defense. These two guys together with Paul George breaking through the way he did, they're a contender, Wilds.
I agree. I think they're a contender. And I also think no matter how well Paul George plays and no matter how well Kawhi plays, unless your name is LeBron James, two is not enough. You need three guys. Look at what the Bucks are looking at. The Bucks had Giannis and Chris Middleton. And you're like, you know what? Two's not enough. We need Drew. They went and got another big guy. Kevin Durant, for God's sakes, like, it's me and Kyrie. You know what? They look back and say, you know what? Two's not enough. We need to go get Harden. Look at the Sixers. Sixers got two, and then it went down to 1.5. Not enough. You need three guys. The Suns, Ayton is a number one. I know we always say, like, oh, it's Chris Paul and Booker. Ayton's the number one pick. They got three guys. The Warriors, when Klay comes back, will have three guys. I'm counting Draymond. So, look, no matter what they do, they're going to try to get another little piece. I don't think it matters. I think they can be contenders, but I don't think you can win the championship with just two great players, unless your name is LeBron James, Jenna.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.